Hello everyone, I am Jerby, your Certified Aromatherapist, graduate of New York Institute of Aromatic Studies, and for today you're up for another episode of Live Well with Aromatherapist, Jerby Go. So for today's episode, we have a very special guest. She is one of my teachers at New York Institute of Aromatic Studies. I've taken 2 short courses with her. She is the founder of NYC Aromatica. She is also an herbalist. She also maintains a podcast called Essential Aromatica. She's no other than Amy Anthony. Hi!
Yeah, perfect. Hi.
Hi, Amy. Hello. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Nice to finally see you. So, how have you been?
No complaints whatsoever.
How's it there in New York?
Warm. How about Manila?
Very warm.
Yeah, I would assume so.
How about the COVID situation there?
It's people are starting to feel more confident and going out, and it seems different because it's been so empty in New York. But fingers crossed. But it's still pretty bad. How about you?
Oh, I think it's turned worse. I mean, just early this week, the government has implemented community quarantine, or in other words, it's lockdown. So everybody's just at home because our numbers here are increasing exponentially. And it seems that we're having our second wave right now here.
Yeah, it's sad. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Here in the area, it's been bad. It's like a third wave.
Oh, I see. Well, we're all holding up.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky, right? I'm healthy, you're healthy.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you so much for being here today. Before anything else, I would like you to please introduce yourself for our audience. Like, just a brief introduction about you and what you do.
All right, so me. So my name is Amy Anthony, an aromatherapist. So it goes nice together, Amy the aromatherapist. And I have loved plants my whole life. And I, for years, worked in business. And then I got kind of burnt out. And I went back to plants. And I discovered aromatherapy, in quotes, full force in 2012. And I haven't looked back since. And I could go on forever, Jerby. But
it's okay. I'd love my listeners to get to know one of my teachers.
Oh, thank you. But I just like to share this with people because I moved to New York City in 1999. And I felt ungrounded as soon as I moved to the city. I lived up in the 4th floor, and I always knew I needed plants. And I had a fire escape. I had plants on there. And something happened when I found essential oils, when they came into my life, when they found me. And I could never say it. It never occurred to me until later that I needed that. And the essential oils were a way for me to connect with nature. And they helped me connect others with nature. And I think that's why I became a teacher, among other reasons. But I mean, that's really what you need to know about me. I've been practicing now since 2015. Jerby, you studied at at Aromatic Studies, and that's a place I taught at. And there was a merger, and that's a place I've studied. And it's just been great. But that's really what I'd love for you to know about me, is how it was this journey, and I found the plants again. They found me. And aromatherapy is a way to access plants, even living in a place like New York City.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Well, I just want to share with my audience that I really resonated with Amy. Firstly, because I really love the way you explain things in classes. I took up my Herbalism with Amy, and I took up my connecting essential oils and chakras with her as well. And both classes, I enjoyed so much, the way you explain things, very animatic, very heartfelt and emotional. And it's not something I normally see with other educators, honestly. And I felt the same for me. I also conduct classes here in Manila, and that's the same feedback that I get. That I give so much energy, so much animation, and that is why I resonated so much with you. And that's the reason why I searched for you, because I was trying to look for Amy Anthony, but it wasn't really anywhere until I found NYC Aromatica. So could you please let us know or share with us things about what is NYC Aromatica and what propelled you to have your own education center, online education center?
Well, thank you for flattering me, but it's small but growing. It's a great question. Thank you. It's not something I've talked about. When I started teaching at the New York Institute of Aromatherapy, which became the New York Institute of Aromatic Studies, which is now unfortunately gone for various reasons, but I needed a business and I needed a website. And I always knew with aromatherapy that I really loved doing my case studies, and I loved workshops and just interacting with people. So I was kind of forced into creating my own business, and I never thought that would happen. And I initially just wanted to offer consultations because that's really a passion of mine, and that's where I'd like my business to always go, is to just see the impact that oils have with people. I just had a consultation Monday with a repeat client, and it was a powerful session. I can't share details because it's private, but so back to your question, I was kind of forced to have a website and a business and business cards. And then I started just doing little articles. And then fast forward to about a year ago, the school dissolved for certain reasons. And I was like, well, I have all this material I've created and written and classes, and I love teaching. And I've jokingly said, not jokingly, that I've found a voice and I will not shut up now. And I want to spread the passion like you. You're passionate, and I want to share this with people. And that's one reason why I'm putting up a lot of my content for free. I've been blessed by being paid for it already, actually, by a small amount. But I'm like, I have it. Why not share it? So that's where my heart's coming from.
Thank you. That is true. I'm very, very grateful that you decided to take me under your wing. Even if the classes that I've enrolled previously with New York Institute has already been dissolved and nowhere to be found. Very, very grateful to you to be able to re-enroll me and have me a refresher. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I've talked to a lot of aromatherapists and other educators about aromatherapy and essential oils, and I noticed that you are very much into essential oil energetics, Amy. So could you please walk us through that, the things about vibrationals with essential oils? I see that you're also into crystals and anything that relates to the spiritual and energetic side of aromatic plants. Yeah, it's a very heavy question, but this is something that's truly unique with you. There are people who might think that this is very hocus-pocusy, but I am starting to go into that rabbit hole right now, and I really wanted to pick your brains about this topic.
Oh, that's interesting. And I know we've really met because of the Chakras class, right? And I mean, truth be told, I am a very left brain person, in quotes, and I'm very analytical. I used to be a market researcher, and but I still have this way of, I enjoy bridging worlds together. So you have the woohoo hocus pocus stuff that you're talking about, and then you have the concrete science stuff. And I often question the science stuff and people's false conceptions about things and blindly following things that they just read. And that's why I created the Chakras class, because I felt people are just regurgitating the same information they're seeing about colors and this chakra center and all this, right? So we know essential oils work with the nervous system. That is one thing they do, and they do it well. We know in herbalism, when we work with aromatic plants, they work, yes, with the digestive system, digestion, try to say that quickly, but hands down nervous system. And that's a little thing we're tapping into with energetics. And we talk about the chakras and energy centers, and they are related to nerve plexi. And one thing that I was taught and really like embodied or really took to heart was that when you smell an oil, you if you pay attention, you get those molecules of communication. And I'm not the first person to use those words. You can feel the impact on you. So let's say I could go get a bottle of vetiver right over there, but if you took a root oil and you talk about this makes me grounded and this and that, and it's like, okay, well, do you know what you're talking about? Like, did you sit with the vetiver, right? And if you sit with vetiver and smell it, preferably like direct palm inhalation, safely, you don't want to do direct palm all the time, but or on a scent strip or cotton pad, if you shut up that mind and shut up the executive function and really tune in and listen to your body and take those molecules in, you could feel it. I mean, that's the energetic working. And that's really what the chakras class was about. And it happens all the time. And then if you tune in after about a minute or so, you'll feel something is different in you. It's usually emotionally, mentally. That is the crux. And I'd love, please ask me questions because I don't want to, I feel like I'm all over the place. But that's really what's happening.
How do you like supplement these concepts with you? I saw in your latest Instagram stories that it seems that you're trying to blend something atop a selenite plate. So like, how could you merge those two concepts together for our audience who don't really know about this? Because I am currently like into this also. But for our audience, we're like very curious about crystals right now because crystals is really going big right now here in Manila. And I just knew that you are the perfect person to talk about this.
Oh, I'm flattered, and to be very honest, because why not be fully honest? Crystals are something that I'm exploring. Just like the chakras, when I started the class, because I'm like, what's going on with all this stuff? And you see like in really bad hippy dippy stores, like chakra balancing kit, you're like, how is this made? I don't get it. This is weird. So crystals, I've had some crystal energy work done with a practitioner on myself, which was a really interesting experience. And I'm just trying to get to know them. And I do understand that everything has energy. So when I do this, like the selenite, I'm blending for someone that's going through a very hard time right now. And she is trying to bring back to herself some of that teenage, early 20s energy she had and she lost for various reasons. So when I pulled out the selenite, I know it's a way to cleanse your stones. And I often have it sitting on the shelf right behind me with some of my stones on it. And I just intuitively, I was like, I really want to put her blend and I want to make it on the selenite. Like it's just not something I think about it. Like, I don't know about you, but a lot of my stuff is intuitive, just based on like, this feels right. You know, even backed by research and all your reading and stuff like that. But it's kind of that. And really, I had to look up selenite again and be like, okay, what else about selenite to make sure I'm not screwing something up? But it's intuition and just kind of feeling through things and trusting yourself.
I agree. And essential oils in general is actually aromatherapy actually is very, very personal. That is also what I share with my students. Like, we can have all these concepts from different educators, different aromatherapists, but at the end of the day, what we prefer, what we think is best would play the major role.
Yeah, hands down, yes. It's like the one thing that we need to all agree on is safety, right? That's first and foremost. But once we understand that we shouldn't put cinnamon bark in a diffuser and have that going all the time, like once we get those fundamentals down, or don't get me started on raindrop therapy, which that's been discussed like 3 times in the past 3 days in my life.
Please do. I mean, for sure, our audience would love to hear about this. Please do.
So just to bring this together, it's like once we understand the safety and the concentrated nature of these oils and that they must be respected on so many levels, how much plant material it takes, how disrupting they can be to the body. But then we work, right, like you're saying, we work with our path. Like you're saying, I'm one of the few people you seeing working with stones and essential oils and chakras and stuff. There's probably others like us, but we find our way. But safety first is important, like crazy.
And this is also the reason why I advocate, like for girls who are very much into essential oils right now, because essential oils has grown its popularity in the past 5-10 years. And this is why I advocate for everyone to, if you have like the time, the money, go on and have your formal education. How about you, Amy? When did you decide, or what made you decide to actually take aromatherapy professionally, like take the course, the certification, and actually be an educator?
It's like timing is funny. So I mentioned 2012 was the year that the oils found me in a real way. It's the year I took my first workshop at a place called Enfleurage right here in New York City. It's a gorgeous shop. She has her own distillery in Oman, and her frankincense is gorgeous, and her myrrh. But 2012 is that magical year, and that's the same year I quit my corporate job. And I thought I was going to be a professional organizer, but then I thought, I don't want to start my own business, and I don't want to deal with other people's emotional baggage. And look what ended up happening is I'm working with people's emotions, and I started my own business unwittingly. But I started to self-study, and I took that one little workshop in 2012, and I was self-studying, buying books, and then reading. And finally in 2014, I was like, I think I should get certified in this. It was all intuitive. I just felt this compulsion, and I don't normally just like randomly do stuff. And I felt a drive, and my husband was supportive, thankfully. And I was looking at schools, and I was like, I don't want to go to the southern United States, or I don't want to go all the way to California for in-person. And lo and behold, Amy Galper, she now has started a school again under her name. She started the New York Institute of Aromatherapy, which was 3 blocks from my apartment.
Wow.
So I found this little in-person school because Amy saw a need for in-person training. She had the only school, I think, in the Northeast of the United States. And I found the school, and I was just like, oh my gosh, sold. I still remember the night before class, because my husband and I went out with some friends. I'm like, I need to go to sleep. I need to go home. This is so important to me. Like, you don't understand. And then suddenly I was like, took level 1. I'm like, I must do level 2. Like, I needed to, from like my soul. It's just like, I must. That's it. It happened in 2015. So there was that year of 2012 to 2015 of just self-exploration and trying to figure my stuff out.
With all these studies, what would you say is I know aromatherapy has different facets or different niche. How about you? What facet of aromatherapy do you resonate the most with?
That's a great question, because that's something I think about a lot when you're thinking about how different people hear about essential oils, hear about aromatherapy. And I find that although I'm fascinated by a lot of the physical stuff, I find I do not like to turn to essential oils and focus on the what's good for that thing. And I don't enjoy, quote unquote, prescripting and prescribing and making stuff for aches and pains and bruises and coughs and stuff like that. I'd rather turn to herbalism. For essential oils, where they resonate is the nervous system. And I really enjoy, this is why we go back to the energetic work, is the emotional impact and really helping to support people achieve mood states and find ways to support them until they can get over their issues, because essential oils should not be a lifestyle and should not be used every day for like 5 years. So the short answer is I really resonate with emotional blending and like applying that. Like this person, for her, she's a skincare person that I just mentioned on Monday. Really emotional blend, but we're putting it in a body cream and a body oil. because she's a beauty person and she understands like the whole layering thing, you're supposed to layer. So that's where I love is emotion and support. Mind, body, it's all holistic, right? You studied at our Aromatic Studies, so we speak the same language.
Correct.
Yeah, but yeah, emotions.
Cool. So let's talk about safety. And you quickly mentioned earlier about raindrop therapy. And this is one of the controversial topics, honestly, worldwide. Although it's not really that famous here in the Philippines, but of course, we all know where that practice, which company, where it came from, and a lot of the girls here are very much into that company, and I think it's just appropriate for us to talk about it, even very, very briefly, if you please.
Yes. Well, I don't remember all the oils that are used, but it's my understanding, hopefully a licensed massage therapist. Oh, by the way, this just came, like I mentioned, 3 people differently in the past 3 days mentioned this to me. And one of them is a massage therapist that I know. And she said the place she just started working at in New Jersey here, she has to do raindrop therapy as a practice. So my understanding is someone will be prepped, and on their back, you might put a carrier oil, one of the nut seed oils, and then drops of essential oils will be put in strategic places along the spine. And a lot of the hot oils are used, the ones that have high in phenols and phenylpropanoids. And those are in the safety. We know that they are dermal irritants. They can make your skin red. They're very active because of their chemical composition. I mean, phenols and phenylpropanoids have those really potent benzene rings. They are great antimicrobial agents. And it's my understanding that when the burning starts to happen on the client or patient, that they're told that's detoxing happening. And I'd like to swear, but I do swear when I teach classes, but I won't do that on your show, your podcast. But it's nonsense, and that is dermal. That's creating harm, and that heat is your skin saying, "You just put undiluted oregano on me. Ouch!" And that just is not good. Yes, it's causing skin irritation. You're setting yourself up for potential future dermal sensitization to the point where you can't use the oil again, possibly. Everyone's different. But also remember that undiluted oils love our fat, love our skin, and our bloodstream takes it in. And your liver has to process this stuff. So it's not just like, I call them invisible unicorns. It's not like, oh, I smell it, it's an oil, it's good, it's natural. Like, no, you are causing harm. And even though you can have, like, the saying, you might have it in the Philippines too, like you can drink a fifth of whiskey a day and smoke a pack of cigarettes for 80 years and then you die like because a bus hits you. You can have some people that could do this technique and not be affected, maybe because of their constitution, but it's still not a safe practice.
I actually have like a very, very vague idea about raindrop therapy because I know some of the oils in it are oregano, thyme, wintergreen, all the strong oils, and even wintergreen is not even safe for pregnant women or lactating women, right?
It's like 100% liquid aspirin. And ingesting an oil, like I forgot how much in the safety data, I have to look it up. A baby could die by ingesting wintergreen. So it's because of the methyl salicylate. So it's great for pain. Like it's 100% great for pain. But sorry, I cut you off. But yeah, it's seriously.
Yeah, that's very true. And I know because of the pandemic, a lot of girls are trying to be creative or trying to be resourceful in using their oils, and that is why I think they are very drawn into trying out raindrop therapy. At least here in the Philippines, that is how they are positioning it, to increase your immune system or to make you healthier when you go outside, and all those kinds of positioning, which I think are so misleading and so dangerous, like what you've mentioned. But for the longest time, in the Philippines, what's a greater discussion here is about ingestion, and I would like to pick your brains about this, because especially in the past year, because of COVID, a lot of girls are really adding their oils in their tea, in their morning water, and it's crazy. So please, educate us about this.
That's a hot. It's very big in the United States too. So I have to just say this as an aside, and I hope to get back to teaching again one day in person. When I was teaching the level 1 class and level 2, I would always have infusions going, or teas. So if we were smelling lemongrass oil that day, I would make lemongrass tea with the whole plant material. And it was very important to me to communicate that with people, because my friend and colleague Becky will say whole plant, whole person. So the medicine is in the whole plant, and we have to respect the plants. And I'm kind of going on a sidetrack here, but ingestion, so many things. I have a notebook here. Like when I talk, I like to just I don't doodle, I write thoughts. So ingestion, oil and water don't mix, right? We know we need a carrier oil. So like you're saying, if I'm putting lemon in tea, water, it's floating around and you will hurt the enamel of your teeth. Essential oils are solvent by nature, the ones that are really high in monoterpenes. That's why you'll see people doing those cheap tricks of like taking a styrofoam plate and putting lemon oil on it. They're solvents. That's why they can clean, right? But you're hurting tissue, and the oil water don't mix. So like you're really not even letting it penetrate in the body, and it's not really going where you want it to go. So the best thing you can do for ingestion is always mix it with a carrier oil. And the best way to do it is in a capsule with olive oil or something. And you would do this on a protocol, like I think in France and many European countries that people do deworming. You would do that maybe for 7 days. Once a day, you might take a drop of oregano in a capsule with like olive oil, something your body recognizes. And when we ingest, we have to go through the stomach acid, and we go into liver metabolism. And ingesting oils is not the most effective way of reaping their benefits. You want to cook with your foods and eat good herbs and drink your teas. And the best way to deliver oils to the entire organism of the human is through inhalation, respiration, like think steam, like go into a sauna and like have a really nice, thoughtful, mindful session with eucalyptus maybe. And massage dermal stuff. Like I remember meeting the owner of Zayat. He's in Canada. He's like, one of the best ways to deliver oils is you go behind the knees, the thin skin, right? Thin skin. And you just don't need a lot. You don't need a lot. So for the people in your world and life, and your sphere of influence, it's like less is more with aromatherapy, and you're doing yourself a disservice by asking your body. You could potentially harm tissue, you could develop a rash, metabolism. Like it's a big topic. But one thing that is in the research I did, I loved finding this fact out that depending on the chemistry of the oil, if you have things like high in ketones, it could take 24 hours for your body to fully metabolize like that one drop of oil. So if I continually do something to myself every day for 30 days, I start to get buildup in the liver, and something can start to happen. So I think that's a good thing to bring up, is it takes time to metabolize. The body's like, oh, wait, this chemistry is different, need to do something. So this is why, as trained aromatherapists, we give our clients protocols, like do this for a week, take a couple of days off, like that is an important part of being an aromatherapist. And I hope that ketone thing was useful for you, because I think that really drives things home.
So that's right. I agree. And that's what's going on here. It's like casually advising people that yes, you can take this as as you would take your vitamin C. This is like your more potent version of your vitamin C. It's a better way to appreciate your essential oils, and all of those are just so dangerously misleading. And it's different when you appreciate your plant medicine in the form of a tea or in the form of a tincture versus casually ingesting essential oils. You know what? The reason why I took up your herbalism class before is that I rescue cats here in the Philippines. I actually have 10 cats right now in this room. And I understand, like...
I have listened to some of your podcast episodes, and I do know...
Oh, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. But...
Thank you. So, and that is the reason why I got into herbalism as an alternative modality, because I know essential oils are not really safe for cats. And that is why I really appreciate your classes, because you've always been that person who's not really super into waving that essential oil flag when we all know that there's another way of like appreciating plant medicine and plant phytochemicals, plant chemicals in our lives. And I'm just very curious, Amy, if you were going to be stuck in an island, what are your favorite essential oils? Like, pick your top 3. And I know this would be different as, time goes along. But right now, as of this moment, what are your top 3 favorite smell or favorite essential oils?
So, I'm going to say all of them, right? So like you're saying, It depends on what day it is and where you are in life. But I mean, I am writing, I have right here, I am writing my next meditation for my new moon salon. And this is the time, here in New York, it's different than what's happening in Manila, our weather, but it's like the spring, right? We're in the same, northern hemisphere, so it's spring, and we're thinking about cleansing. So lemongrass is on my radar. So I was like, lemongrass, I love you, but you're so potent. You're a dermal irritant. Oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh, Palmarosa. So Palmarosa's kind of been a love of mine. Like, we have a love affair for at least the past year and a half. And I spent a lot of time with her. And yes, I give genders to things, pardon me. But I spent a lot of time with Palmarosa, and lemongrass and I don't know each other as well as I know other oils, but that's one that's on my radar right now. Like, I'm spending time with lemongrass and Palmarosa. And then in the blend, I have the oils here, Manuka.
Wow.
And I'm doing the rosewood leaf, the one from India, not the ones we are worried about in Brazil. And then I have, did I say Palmarosa, Manuka, rosewood leaf? But right now, because I'm spending time with this, I'm writing my meditation. What's the other one? Oh, wait. Amyris.
Wow.
Amyris is in the blend. So that's a 5 blend, the 5 oil blend that I need with me because I'm writing a meditation.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Manuka is really not common here. I think I've never really tried Manuka.
I mean, honestly, it's like something you and I as geeks would want in our life. It's not one of the more, quote, common oils. It is from New Zealand, right? It's like the Manuka honey.
Yeah.
So it's very specialized. But I have had this in my collection and I never work with it. And for some reason, for spring, like, it's the intuition. Manuka just literally spoke to me, in quotes. I was like, I need Manuka in this blend. And like, that's the way it works, right? And so suddenly Manuka's in my life. Even though I had the oil, I smell it occasionally, but now it's like calling to me to be a part of this kind of sensual spring cleansing, the gentleness of the Palmarosa and like the heart compassion with the Palmarosa. So it was a long answer, but those are the oils.
You know what? Every time you speak about oils, Amy, I really get drawn into it. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get my hands on Manuka.
Well, I mean, it's in your like longitudinal-ish area, right? If you go like around the globe and look down. You might wave to New Zealand.
Correct. It's closer to me than to you.
Yeah, ish, yeah.
Yes, true. You know what? Here in the Philippines, I actually hold these sessions, what I call as sniff sesh, and every month I gather like a group of girls, like some of my students, if they sign up. So we gather together every month, and then we tackle like 3 oils a month. And very recently, we just tackled amyris. And I really try to pick oils that are not common, just so they get introduced to new oils versus like what's in their common cupboard. Like I normally skip lemon and lavender and peppermint because those are normal. And amyris is just one of those, like, oh, this is something unique. And you mentioned amyris. So what made you pick amyris as part of your top 5?
Again, some of it's intuition. Some of it had to do with the concept of quenching. That lemongrass is in this blend. I have 1 drop in this little bottle. And amyris is just, the wood and balsamic, soft. And when I blend, I think on many levels, like you might. Like I think about perfume and base notes. I think about the energetics. I think about the safety. I think about the chemistry. So I'm pulling from all these ways of thinking. And I had Copaiba out. And I didn't like the way it smelled with it because I wanted that quenching. I wanted that soothing. I wanted that balsamic cooling effect, actually. And Copaiba it wasn't right for the blend. So that's amyris was on my radar in that way because I'm not going for sandalwood. It didn't belong in there. It's, I needed a heavy, cool, wet kind of spring like vibe. But yeah, that's so fun. So amyris is in the air.
Yeah, it's so fun to discover like oils and discover like the way they interact with each other, right? But in general, Amy, like what kind of a person are you? For example, with regards to aromatherapy, like I know girls who are very much into grounding oils. Like me, I'm very much into citrus and bright and just energetic. How about you?
So I no longer am so much because I have gotten to know these friends over time and I love them for who they are. But historically, like as a high school student, I loved patchouli. So that was like my gateway. And I fall into the grounding oils. Like I less so floral citrus, and I gravitate for whatever reasons towards those really quote base notes, the really grounding oils, like the woods and the roots. But I've learned over the years, and I have my yoga teacher to thank for this. We talk a lot, and we used to smell oils together in person, but that hasn't happened because of COVID. But like, I like to challenge myself to not like or dislike something. And I like to just try to appreciate it for what it is. And part of that's the yoga training or the mindfulness of just try not to attach and just say, like with the oils, what's the information this is giving me? And what's happening between me and this botanical magic sunlight in a bottle?
Right.
Oh, I was going to ask you, but you shared, you go towards the citruses, you said.
Yes, I really love citruses, and I've met people who can't really take that much of its energy. They say it's so overwhelming for them, and I just really love all those brightness and uplifting. Those are my jam.
Well, they seem to fit your personality.
Yeah. It resonates even through screens.
I love it.
You know what, Amy? I just remembered, I remembered attending your Chakras class, and I really fell in love because I love the way you marry different concepts. Like, I know in our class, you included space clearing, you included Hydrosol Tasting, and that's really new for me. And then you also included meditation and some yoga poses, and that's really fun. And that is why I really wanted to introduce you to some of my students and to some of my audience in general, because I also know other girls who are actually looking for your chakra class because for a time there, they knew it was on the New York's website, and then it was gone, and then people were like, where is it? And so
Yeah.
the reason why I wanted you to be here on my platform is I wanted for them to know your presence because yes, Amy's back and she's teaching it again.
You're so wonderful. Thank you. And just so you know, because you have access to the class, I plan on redoing, or not redoing, I'll keep the video up, but I plan on doing new additional videos. Just because I have a better camera now and all that. So, but I love the class. It grew with me, and it grew out of like me trying to really explore, like I said, that like, what's this chakra balancing stuff, and really thinking about multidisciplinary. So you're pointing out, like, I'm trying to tie in things together to give us just different ways of approaching the same darn thing, And that's really, and I actually have my little chart. That's like one of my babies.
I
know. But yeah, it's just been a joy, and the class has grown. So I want to keep adding to it and changing it.
I wanted to go back to hydrosol tasting because this concept is very, very new, virtually unheard of here, honestly. Where do you normally apply that? Like, in what instances or in what scenarios do you normally have to do hydrosol tasting, or in which aspects of your practice do you actually do that?
Okay, so first I have to give some credit. So I first had my first hydrosol tasting with Kathy Skipper. And she is an herbalist. You might know of her. She's a British herbalist and aromatherapist that lived in France. She was a winemaker as well. And now she's in the United States with her now husband, Florian, who's also, he uses essential oils in his psychiatry practice. So they do some really, really interesting stuff together. My first tasting was with her and Florian. And it really is a way, and the tasting really is, oh my gosh, the hydrosols are so potent, and I distill my own. You take a small, like a cup, literally a cup of water, and you maybe to 1, 2, 3 spritzes of hydrosol, and you sip, and you get to feel the energy. So hydrosols can be considered medicine. You can't talk that way in the US, right? Probably the same in the Philippines. But they can be used as internal medicine. They could be used as food flavoring. You can cook with them. I have them in the bath a lot. I diffuse them actually in my diffuser, but hydrosol tasting is your question. I like to do it as a way to understand the plant. It's very rare that you'll see me putting hydrosols in water and drinking them. When you do something like that, if you're giving it to a client, you'll have to give them strict guidelines of how long to use them. I've used neroli with people for like anxiety, to have them drink it during the day with water diluted. Please be aware of the book. It's kind of the quote Bible. It's one of the only books on hydrosols, is Suzanne Caddy's hydrosol book. Her book is referenced a lot. And she has guidelines for internal use. But the hydrosol tasting is really just a way to get to know the hydrosols. I mean, you could do the space clearing and put them in facial toners, but to really understand their personality is to taste them. And I'll share this with you. In a hydrosol class I've taught, I brought my own distilled goldenrod and my own distilled sweet fern. It's a plant that's native to the US here, Comptonia peregrina. 9 out of 10 times, I'm making that up, but most people, when they tasted the goldenrod, would say they feel stoned. And it's in the chamomile family. So some people said they felt high or stoned after sipping a spritz. And this would be after 1 or 2 minutes. And then I'd give them the sweet fern, Comptonia peregrina, if you look it up. And then suddenly you literally feel it wash away and you just brighten up and your mind's clear. And this is from sipping a tiny amount. So I'm sharing this kind of maybe controversial thing, but to really understand that, like, the soul of that plant, and to see how little it takes to affect the mind body. It's wild. But to be
I
clear,
agree. It's mind-blowing.
it seriously is, honestly. It's a riot to watch people too. But no, right? Like when you're with your class and you're smelling oils, like you probably get to point out, saying, guys and gals, do you see what's happening? Do you notice how the energy has changed in the room? Look at yourselves. And people don't know what's happening because they're not checking in. Like, but when you call it out, they're like, oh yeah, I feel different. It's funny in a good way. It's good. It's joyful. It's powerful.
Yes. Yes, I love it. Like the interaction is really, really amazing. And wow, that's so amazing. I was about to say that, yeah, I know that you distill your own plants, and that's really admirable. Like for me, last year, before the lockdown started here in the Philippines, I was honestly contemplating of buying my own still, and I wanted to also do, some of my own distillation thing, but never really happened because of all the things that happened. But I really admire that you distill your own plants. You're very much into gardening and plants. You have a very close relationship with plants. And is there any chance that you will make your hydrosols available for purchase on your website? I would love to purchase and try them out, please.
No, that's not, because I'm flattered, but it's I make such small amounts.
Oh, I agree.
Just really, I want to stay local, And I do have I partner with my friend Becky, and we're starting our own podcast. We're having it's called Irreverent Aromatherapy, coming out in about a week. But she is selling some of my hydrosols in her shop. But we have a very close relationship, and I'm like, she's selling them small batch. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Oh,
yeah. But I hope you get a still. I mean, this is like when's and I am going to have a chemistry class just when I get around to it. When you understand, and I'm saying this for your listeners, and when you can understand the distillation process, the chemistry starts to make sense, because the understanding solubility. And if you check out my intro to aromatherapy class for free, the little 1 hour class, I touch upon that. It's just like, to understand solubility and boiling point really helps you understand the nature of hydrosols and essential oils. And you'll love it. I'm encouraging you to get your own little still or big still, and have Jerby's amazing aromatherapy empire. I don't know. Do it.
Oh no. But at least we can get our hands to some of your hydrosols, even if not straight from you. At least you just mentioned that we can. But once it's gone, it's gone. So girls, remember that. Because I'd love to try your goldenrod. I'd love to try your sweet fern if it's still there. Or I'll wait for the next batch.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future, but thank you.
I saw that you have started as well your Essential Aromatica podcast just early this March. Could you please walk us through that? And you just mentioned another podcast. Could you let us know the difference of these two? You're a hard worker during the quarantine. You have so much going on.
Well, like I said, thanks. Like I said before, now I'm just not going to shut up about aromatherapy. But I really figured, like, why not do a podcast, right? Because you have a podcast, you're doing your thing, and not everyone wants to read a blog. Not everyone wants to take that time. And I really just want to share, like, similarly with you, I want to share my passion about this. I want it to be conversational. So that's Essential Aromatica. I want to make aromatherapy accessible. So if someone goes and checks out the couple episodes I have up there, I talk about cooking. I talk about going and like going outside and touching an evergreen tree. Like, I want aromatherapy to not just be about consumption and buying essential oils. I want us to love the earth and have a very sensorial experience. And like, that's really where Essential Aromatica, the podcast, that's what it's about. And I'm finding my way. Like, my first trial run was talking about the root chakra and getting grounded, right? And it's like, just what are ways to access aromatherapy? It's like going back to that chakras class. Like, what are different ways to approach the same thing? Because my gosh, like, imagine me blathering on and on about like lavender for 30 minutes, like blah, 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 blah. It's like, how can I make it interesting? And what if, who's my audience? Am I speaking as someone listening that might not know about aromatherapy? Is someone listening like you that is a professional? So like, I want it to be conversational and curious. And then this new one with my friend Becky, who's in Wisconsin of the United States, the state of Wisconsin. We are friends. We get along. We banter all the time. So we're basically pretending we have our own radio show and going on about real things happening in our lives. She has her shop. I have my practice. So we're like, what's going on this week with you? Like we were talking about one of the hydrosols that she's selling. That's mine. That I listened to the episode, I guess. But we're talking about real stuff, and we're not treating anyone like an expert. Like, we need to bow down to them. We're going to talk about thieves. We're going to talk about young living. We're going to talk about diffusion. We're not going to treat something as sacred, except the earth. Like, we're here to ask questions. So that's a reverent aromatherapy.
Oh, that's very interesting. I need to follow that channel as well as soon as you've uploaded your first episode.
Thank you. So it's very real, and we're not holding back, and we just try to have fun, be humorous, but also be real. Just like with you here asking, we're talking about Raindrop Therapy, and like, this is real stuff we have to talk about.
All right. So I've lingered long enough at NYC Aromatica, and I've attended a lot of your new moon salon. So could you please share with us or talk to us about that and invite our listeners, like, what's this about? Every month it's something that, you offer to us, but what it's all about in a gist.
So the new moon aroma salon, which will be rebranded one day as Luna Aroma, is part of my personal journey on living by the moon. And what I do now is turned into something. I started this in last year, September of 2020. And this is on the new moon of every new moon day. I invite people, I tell them an essential oil that I think resonates with that time of year from my New York perspective. So what works for me might not work for you.
But I enjoy it. Don't worry. I enjoy every class. It's relatable, girls, believe me.
I contemplate an oil. I contemplate the lunar time of year, and new moons are times every month to create a new intention for yourself, a new habit, to say goodbye to something and start something new. So it's just a way of me exploring living by the moon, which has made me much more sensitive to the ebb and flow of the days and the nights. And I feel a lot less like daunted by time. And I'm not lying, I'm being very honest here. And the new moon is a way I write a meditation. I'm describing to you the oils with the amyris and the palmarosa lemongrass. So the new moon salon is me sharing reflections. I often will have a yoga pose to share. Sometimes I lead you through a body scan. It varies each salon. Each salon is 10 to 15 minutes. It's now on live stream, which I have that technology figured out now. So that, and then I write a guided meditation. Each month it's a new meditation, and I ask people to have the oil with them to smell and close their eyes and have me guide you. And it's just a way, like we're talking, to connect with the oil, get the energetics, get what's happening, for you to have 10 minutes to yourself and give yourself space to create new beginnings on the new moon. And I started from a personal journey of mine, and I'm just sharing it for anyone that wants to hang out with me.
And it's really cool. And I noticed the evolution of your new moon salon from their first episode, and then you've improved your camera and you've improved your live streaming. It's honestly your personal evolution caught up in camera.
So look for, if you're joining me, so I'm sending my email out April 1st that you will receive because you're signed up with. I actually share the blend with you, so you can blend for yourself and make it if you'd like, and you could share that with people if you like the blend. If you don't like the blend, don't share it.
I'd look into it. I always love trying out your recipes. But okay, so before we end this podcast, is there anything that you would like to invite our audience with? Maybe your new classes or any announcements so that they can find you?
Well, I'd love for folks to, candid stuff. If you find on my website, like if something's hard to find, or if you are interested in new topics for me to write about. But on my radar, slowly, I'm getting my free classes out. Eventually, some paid classes will be out there, but will be working on my lavenders class. Down the line, I will be having like an aromatherapy 101 chemistry class. And I basically wrote an entire program for the school that I basically did the whole chemistry section. But I was like, what am I excited about? I'm excited about Aroma Salon. Like, that's always on my radar. But updated chakra stuff, and I am working on just getting more classes out there. But if someone is interested in something, just reach out to me. Honestly, I'm looking for ideas. I might do my hydrosols class I thought about putting up. I just have to get the content out. So, maybe, Jerby, because of you, maybe I will. I've been thinking about it. The
yes,
hydrosols,
please.
And having a hydrosol tasting. Why not?
And Amy, I have another idea for you. I know that you are also into flower essence. I think that's very interesting.
I'm not a practitioner. I don't know enough about it, actually.
I think it's interesting, like, for you to compare, like, the difference of hydrosol and flower essence and all those stuff in your class.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Like the whole etheric, energetic level. I know a flower essence practitioner, and she totally rocks it. Her name is Courtney. Why can't I remember her name? She just moved to the southwest of the US, but she's a really great herbalist. Why? I'm sorry, Courtney. What's your last name? But yeah, flower essence is just the vibrational energy of healing us is really intense, and I feel like hydrosols. Like, do you mind if I go into this?
Yes, please. I'd love to hear.
Essential oils are hot and drying by nature and really concentrated, and you could kind of think of them as that really yang, active, masculine principle, really potent. You can start to get to like sexual innuendos there, but then we get into like women and water, and hydrosols really start to carry that information. They're like really yin and like potent in their own way. And that's where you start to get into homeopathy, right? And starting to get into that. But hydrosols are potent medicine that are more ethereal and start to work like on this energetic level in this kind of way. And the other layer, like you're saying, you could make a flower essence to work with, like hydrosols have that imprint, like they're a marriage of plant material, the stuff that comes over the still, in water and steam. And when we work with flower essences, you're just still working with water and the imprint of energy from that plant, right? So it's more dilute, more vibrational, and in a way more potent.
Mm.
And it's interesting. Like I'm trying to think, like, it's the spirit. I'm not a religious person per se. I was raised a Roman Catholic, but it's the Holy Spirit kind of way of thinking about things. You have like your yin and yang of essential oils and hydrosols. Then you have this kind of spirit of the plant, of the essence.
Yeah. Have you ever tried making your own flower essence?
No, it's not something I want to practice. I'm leaving, like, let other people practice that, and I'm enjoying my ride with the hydrosols and my meditations and stuff I never thought I'd be doing. If you asked me 20 years ago if you and I would be talking right now, I'd be like, what?
Me too, honestly. Like a few years ago, what's aromatherapy? What's that? What's crystals? I can't imagine.
No, not at all. 20 years ago, no way.
Jade Shoots just released her intro to flower essence, I think last February. But I missed the enrollment, so I wasn't able to. But it's something that I'd love to get into maybe someday. So anyway, thank you so much, Amy, for giving me your time. Super grateful to have you on the show.
It was really great connecting with you, and it's been just great meeting you. And I love how aromatherapy and the internet like just bridges the world and brings people together. So I thank you. Thanks for having me.
And for everyone who's listening, I will be putting all of Amy's links everywhere where you can find her website, her Instagram, even her podcast links. I'll be putting it down here so that you can get in touch with her and find her. And I hope you'd enjoy her content, her everything as much as I do. So thank you so much again, Amy, and I hope to see you around.
You will. I know we'll see each other. Thank you, Jerby.
So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode here on my podcast. To receive updates and new episode alerts, don't forget to follow me here on Spotify. Or to see what I'm up to, don't forget to follow me on my Instagram at HappyOilerPH. And I'll see you on my next Live Well with Aromatherapist, Jerby Go.